the other question that I have is more on leadership.
Okay.
And in most of the leadership programs, one of the things that is getting repeatedly asked is to introduce EQ, to
Yeah.
include EQ in that. Um, where do you see, or why do you see EQ is making an impact in leadership?
Yeah. A good question. I think one of the reasons for this is because of sort of the overlap and intersection between IQ and personality and EQ. So if you think about, at a very simplistic level, IQ is sort of your general intellect, and it tends to be pretty fixed at an early age, barring any sort of real big brain trauma, right? So at about age 5 or 6, you have about the same IQ that you will have when you're 66, for example. There's a lot of research on personality, and personality is sort of manifestation or demonstration of who you are as a person, and there are parts of personality that are changeable, but not as significantly as emotional intelligence. Of the three, emotional intelligence is the one that is the most trainable and the most developable. And so I think leadership training is really evolving in a big way right now, because a lot of them are putting emotional intelligence at the center of their leadership training. And so we've moved away from sort of this old model of leadership about sort of directing performance. And part of that is because, telling people what to do, holding them accountable, measuring results, that may have worked 25 years ago when organizations were smaller and less matrixed. It's just not true anymore, right? The average person cannot get their job done successfully without other people. And so it is critical for people to understand not just how to work effectively with people, but especially if you're a leader, how to develop those people. And that's where EQ sort of becomes non-negotiable. I think the other thing too is today's leader is expected to really understand sort of situational leadership. So they need to be somebody who can give you information and teach you, but they also need to be someone who can appropriately coach, appropriately manage, appropriately delegate. And those people are expected to do that, while also navigating their own feelings about constant change and leading through uncertainty. And, one thing that was really interesting to me that showed up during COVID, I talked to a number of very senior leaders during the pandemic who said, the 35 years I've had in leadership has not prepared me for the amount of mental health support that I have had to do for my team. People are coming to me losing family members, afraid of losing family members, afraid of losing their own lives, and I was just not prepared. And so I think today's leader is responsible for a lot more, and all of that requires emotional intelligence. If you don't have a good foundation of self-awareness, it's very hard to then turn around and lead change if you are not queued up to really pay attention to how people are feeling. If you can't build psychological safety, it's very hard to foster innovation, because people just do not feel safe enough to push the limits. And I think we've seen that firsthand at TalentSmart. A couple of years ago, it sort of felt like companies were offering EQ workshops as a great add to their portfolio, and now we're seeing them bake EQ into everything, right? EQ is becoming part of onboarding, performance reviews, succession planning, promotion criteria. People are making it a requirement. They're baking it into metrics, not just for success, but also for promotion.
Great, Maggie. Thank you so much for your time.